That's sort of the official view of what hybrid army represents. You know, a hybrid of all kinds of different methods. Little green men happens to be a reference, they say, to 6-foot-tall Russian soldiers that have unmarked green uniforms. That's the official story. And that may be true. Sure, great, wonderful. What about all this other stuff that I showed you that is really happening? They are really creating hybrids in laboratories, and all of the ancient history says that you're going to end up with ultimate violence if you do that. And little green men, if I ever said to you the phrase little green men, what's the first thing you think of? Martians. Where's the kaboom? The earth-shattering kaboom. Little green men is a reference to aliens in pop culture. And we have a massive increase in UFO sightings and alien abductions. So he may be saying more truth than most people are willing to accept. Is the stage being set for the return of the beast? I'm going to conclude with this. You know, I talked about the return of the watchers that were judged, bound, and buried for 70 generations. Is it just a coincidence that what happened in the 20th century? The return of the Nephilim, is it just a coincidence that we're seeing the hybridization taking place? Well, what about the return of the beast? We're expecting the return of Christ. I believe that there's going to be a return of Antichrist as well. If you remember the names that I had up there, Osiris being one of the references to Nimrod, one of the names he became known by. Well, the tomb of Osiris was found in 1999. Dr. Zahi Hawass said, I have found a shaft going 29 meters vertically down into the ground, exactly halfway between the Chevron pyramid and the Sphinx. At the bottom, which is filled with water, we have found a burial chamber with 4 pillars. In the middle is a large granite sarcophagus, which I expect to be the grave of Osiris, the god. I've been digging in Egypt's sand for more than 30 years, and up to date, this is the most exciting discovery I have made. This is what they found when they looked at it. This is an artist rendering of it. The red star is the location between the pyramid and the Sphinx. And then you came down into a large chamber, went down again, came down to an area that had 7 sarcophagus things, and another tunnel that went down even further, actually 6, with a 7th one going down. And then you have the artist depiction on the right there of what they found. Now, the sarcophagus was open. They did find a body inside of it. Everybody that looked at it and studied it did not believe that it was Osiris, but they were thinking that this may be what we might consider to be a resurrection chamber. And so what it appears is that somebody, maybe with the hopes of being resurrected, was loaded into this thing and it didn't work. But it's a very interesting find. You can look that up, study that for yourself. And in 2003, April 2003, coincidentally 1 month before we set up the military occupation phase in Iraq, and the first thing our troops did was raid the Museum of Iraq, and 170,000 items were reported stolen. Of those, most of them were returned. The ones that were not returned were about 3,000 items that all dealt with resurrection and the afterlife. Probably just a coincidence. That's right after they found the tomb of Gilgamesh. And if the stories are to be believed, the body was found, believed to be Gilgamesh, incredibly well preserved, and the primary objective was to extract DNA. So then we get to a warning from Yeshua in Matthew 24. He says, if any man say unto you, lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall shew great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. He says, behold, I have told you before. That's King James. Other translations make it sound like, hey, listen up. I'm about to tell you something. Remember what I've told you before?